Hello and a very warm welcome back to the garden. So today I'm talking about mulches, kind of a highly requested topic. And so this video is going to feature 11 natural mulches perfect for permaculture growing. So in no particular order, I'm going to go through all of these mulches that I've been using over the last few years as I actually crack on and do some mulching myself. The first mulch to mention is one that we have a lot of access to being in Wales. It's sheep's wool. It's breaking down nicely here. We've added wood chip as well. The nice thing about sheep's wool is that you can use it for both annuals and perennials. It's not very much liked by slugs, and so people like Adam and Ardith has had great success with mulching around his, say, brassicas, like his kale plants. It's a great way to keep them slug free. I've used sheep wool to mulch perennials. I've also used sheep wool from packaging, the packaging that helps with insulation when you're buying food online, to mulch around the tomato plants last year, which did work really, really nicely. There's also a vineyard up in North Wales that is mulching between the vines with sheep's wool as well. Now, another one, great natural mulch, is wood chip. This is wood chip that we've put down here. We've got a starch fibre kind of landscape fabric, but it's completely natural as it will break down. But we put wood chip over. It's a great mulch that looks nice and smart, and it's a fantastic mulch for any kind of perennials because it's going to encourage a nice fungally dominated soil, which is what perennials prefer. Like these soft fruit here, I've got red currants, I've got gooseberries, they're beautiful perennials, and so this wood chip is going to be really nice to help create that fungal dominated soil for them. But it also does break down really well, and it's fantastic at providing really top quality organic matter to ensure that the soil stays nice and moist. Next up is a type of wood chip called Ramial Chipped Wood, which is what I've put around the base of this apple tree that's coming into leaf. Ramial Chipped Wood is a fantastic one because it has much better nitrogen to carbon ratio. And so what that means is that it breaks down faster. You can use it as a hotbed material, which is what we've done really successfully. But it's also a mulch that you can put around some of your annual plants because it's not going to kind of cause the nitrogen issues just where the soil meets the wood chip as much. I think that Ramial Chipped Wood is one of the most exciting resources out there, and it's one of our key focuses here as we experiment with different mulch materials on our new site. There's one material in particular that we can grow really well here in Wales, and that is grass, which is what I've been mulching with so far this video. These are grass clippings that are just amazing at creating a layer to retain moisture within the soil. They're also really nice and fertile. There's some amazing permaculture projects out there that just use grass exclusively as the nutrition source, not just for growing perennials but also for annuals. Here I'm using grass around, we've got a patio plum, and I just want to put this layer of grass clippings on top to retain the moisture within, and as it will break down again, it will continue to add nutrients as this plum tree grows. But we haven't got much rain forecasted over the next few days, and so this means I don't have to bother with watering. And in terms of accessibility, it's really important to understand which mulches are going to be most readily available to you in your situation, and that then influences the way that you grow food. Our site here, grass grows amazingly, and so in terms of the permaculture design and our approach, we've got grass as the leading mulch material. I reckon over time Ramial Chipped Wood will become second, and then everything else is extra as and when we can get hold of it. Hay, no, I'm joking. Hay is another form of grass, a bit like the grass clippings, but you let it dry out and then you harvest it. It's more of a kind of more on the lines of a brown material, but it does break down quite nicely by itself without adding anything extra. So I'm adding this hay on top of previous hay and a bit of Ramial chipped wood. What I'm doing here essentially is suppressing the weeds as much as possible, but really increasing the fertility around the base of the trees, because I'm going to then start planting guilds in a sense. One thing is you also get kind of living mulches like herbs like mint or creeping thyme or lawn chamomile, and that's actually some of the things that we'll be planting underneath these trees in order to naturally suppress the weeds growing and just the grasses growing up around it, to try and keep a nice clear stem for the health of the tree. But they do like a little bit of nutrition. They'll probably rather have a bit of extra nutrition compared to just being planted in the topsoil. And that's why I'm heavily mulching this area this year. It's going to break down, it's going to create a really nice ring of nutrition around the base of the tree, which I can then plant with the herbs and the ground cover crops, and they'll do much better and get off nicely underway next year. A great mulch that is full of nutrition and can be used anywhere, be it in a forest garden or even in a polytunnel, especially for your fruiting plants like peppers and cucumbers and tomatoes, is comfrey, which is what we have growing here. I'm just taking some of the leaves from these plants, not trying to take too much because they're still basically developing, but comfrey is just so full of nutrients. It's quite a wonder plant in the permaculture world, and quite rightly too. You can make a fantastic natural liquid feed out of comfrey, but for me, I'm just going to chop these up a bit like chop and drop, and I'm going to place them around the tomatoes just to give them a nice boost. And even though they're still developing, the tomatoes, I'll add the comfrey. I might add in some nettle as well, and nettle is a great mulch. I'm not including it within the list of 11, but if I was to highlight one particular plant to grow specifically for mulching, it's going to be comfrey. Another great mulch, if you have access to it, is any kind of well-rotted animal manure. We're very fortunate to be right next to a dairy farm, and so we've got loads of access to this cow manure that I'm putting around this rose, which actually growing to use the flowers for edible purposes. Then I'll mulch this gooseberry here. But yeah, in terms of super high in nutrients, especially for hungry plants, hungry perennials, manure, horse manure, cow manure, even chicken manure, chicken bedding, when it has broken down, is going to be absolutely perfect, and the plants are going to thank you for it, and this whole area is going to be boosted. So all of the plants around are going to be positively impacted by just a little bit of manure around the key plants. If you're close to the coast, then seaweed is a beautiful, absolutely beautiful mulch material to use. It is essentially just as potent as using animal manure. So if you can get your hands on some seaweed, you can mulch all of your perennials with that. There's some gardeners that like to mulch their empty raised beds with seaweed over winter and then kind of like scrape it off in spring or plant in between the seaweed. I've seen some fantastic results with that. And so yeah, seaweed, if you get access to it, that is an absolute must to use in a permaculture garden. Another great mulch material is simply the plant matter that you already have growing. This is some charge that is now running to seed, which is no problem at all. I'm just going to use the chop and drop technique just to chop it up lightly and effectively just mulch the ground around it so it can keep the ground nice and protected. And then when it comes to transplanting something, I might remove the mulch if depending on the annual and put it on the compost bin, but it's still creating this nice kind of protected environment on top of the soil. And if it does break down, especially at the end of the growing season when you're just clearing the beds anyway, instead of bothering putting this in the compost bin, just leave it on the ground over winter. It'll break down and really help the soil and protect it during the colder months. And of course, compost itself is a great mulch, especially if you're doing a lot of annual growing. Just going around and doing like a light top dressing adds a bit of protection. It might not offer the same kind of qualities as some of the other mulches like grass clippings in terms of moisture retention, but it is adding organic matter, which, you know, that increases moisture retention in the soil regardless, and it is adding a lot of nice nutrition to the plants and to the soil microbes. Hello, Huw from the future here. I forgot another mulch, which of course is going to be all of the autumnal leaves. They are amazing for all sorts of things. Yes, you can use them in a compost bin, but in terms of a mulch, they're a really nice thing to just put over empty patches of ground just to keep them covered over winter that you can then remove come springtime. And they're a lovely thing as well to put around perennials, or you can break them down a little bit so you get a leaf mold, which you can also then start applying around annuals. Those are 11 real simple mulch ideas for perennial growing. Watch this video here. It's a recent video on a new format that we're doing, Huw's Garden Diaries, which is focusing mainly on how we're using grass clippings on this site.